What's going on, guys? It is Will here, back again for another episode of the Gridiron Talk podcast, episode 2, week 12. I am once again not alone. I am with Nick. Nick, how are you doing this week, my man? You doing good?
Oh, I am great. Well, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. The games last weekend they were fun to watch, especially that Raiders and Chiefs game. Like I said, that was a great game.
Yeah, there were
Um,
some really good ones.
They were, and I'm not surprised. Obviously, I'm surprised on some upsets like the Broncos beating the Broncos beating Denver, the Broncos beating the Dolphins, the Colts beating the Packers. But we'll talk about those briefly when we mention those teams and their games. We won't leave last week completely behind, but we're going to mainly focus on this week. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. You already know who we are. So, first game of the week, Thanksgiving Day. Game 1, just like a tradition like every year, the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions. This is going to be two good quarterbacks with some subpar teams, although the Texans are on the rise. And the Texans are trending up with Detroit trending down. The Texans have been a completely different team since Bill O'Brien got fired. And Matt Patricia is on the hot seat with Detroit. And I forgot to say this. This is my bad, but the Texans are 3-7 and the Lions are 4-6. And yeah, Matt Patricia's on the hot seat. He might get fired if he loses again after getting blown out by an XFL quarterback. So, Nick, who was your boom and why? Or if you want to add on to what I just said about the Texans trending up and Detroit on the
Yeah.
hot seat, you can add to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. I think that early on in the season, we were counting out the Texans. We didn't like what we were seeing. I think since they got rid of Bill O'Brien, they are a different team. They're a better team. And for that reason, my boom of the week is actually Deshaun Watson. If you look at his numbers since O'Brien has been fired, he's a different quarterback. They're playing outstanding, I think, in my opinion. I think they're maybe 3-1 since without him. Don't hold me to that. That's just off the top of my head. But they definitely look like a better team. So that's my boom of the week for this game. What about you?
I just going off what you said, I completely agree with you. I mean, especially with him trading D-Hop over the offseason, which was a terrible move, and Deshaun Watson still making it work with Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. And speaking of Brandon Cooks is my boom of the week. And I know last week against the Patriots, you picked Will Fuller. I think he had a pretty solid game against New England, against a tough secondary. But I think Brandon Cooks will have a good game because he will be most likely guard against the rookie first rounder, third overall, Jeff Okudah from Ohio State. And I just think Brandon Cooks, who is a veteran's solid receiver, will just torch Jeff Okudah. And it's always hard to guard cornerback or wide receivers in the NFL, especially rookies. That's just kind of like a known fact. The jump from corner from college to NFL is just usually a big one. So I think Brandon Cooks is just going to torch Cooks and the whole Texans or Lions secondary.
Yeah.
Who's your bust, Nick, and why?
So my bust for this game, I'm going to have to go with Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford is a really good quarterback, and I notice a trend year in and year out with this team. They are always injured, and they always underperform, and it sucks. But, I mean, if you look at this team and the injuries that have piled up and what Matt Stafford is having to go through, he looks like a deer in headlights out there, and I feel bad for him because he is a very talented quarterback. What about you?
Oh, I agree with you in the same way. A little bit different story. I mean, I know he is injured. Weber, I think he had COVID at one point, or he was on the list, so he didn't practice a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that with his number one receiver, Kenny Galladay, out and Danny Amendola also out, I think his receiving core is just not that really good. I mean, you have Jones Jr., Marvin Hall, and TJ Hawkinson, but like those are really not top receivers. I mean, Hawkinson's still young, and Jones Jr. is also he's old. So, but I agree with you what you said. He's a really talented quarterback, and he's kind of like just in a sucky situation in Detroit,
It's sad.
which is unfortunate, but it's sad. Yeah, maybe they should trade him, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who's your pick to win this game, Nick, and why?
So, because of pretty much everything we mentioned before, I think the clear winner here is the Texans. I like what they're doing now. I like the offense. Deshaun Watson coming off a great week, probably his best week of the season. I think it's going to continue here. Jeff Okudah and that defense, they have underperformed. So I think it's going to be Texans 24-10.
I agree with you 100%. I think the Texans are going to win 21-10. I think the Texans are just a better team overall. Deshaun Watson had the best game last week out of all fantasy quarterbacks. He had like 4 total touchdowns, so he
Mhm.
really balled out last week, and I think that will continue this week against a weak defense.
Yeah, definitely. So our next game here that we got going in, we have Washington, who is 3-7, and we have the Cowboys 3-7. Uh, it's two underwhelming teams for sure. But the funny thing about this is the winner of this team at the time will take the lead in the NFC East, which is just absurd if you think about that. Uh, the funny thing about it too is if you watched the Cowboys game last week against the Vikings, they look like a different team with Andy Dalton out there. And I mean, you expect that. Andy Dalton is a seasoned veteran. He's been in the league a long time. He was a starter for what seemed like 500 years in Cincinnati. um, but yeah, he's shown that he's a better option than Danucci or Gilbert, I think it was. With them being a different team, it's just I think it's going to be an interesting matchup to say the least. So who do you think? Who's your boom of the week for this game?
Oh yeah, let me just go off you real quick. I think that like you said, the Cowboys are surprisingly underrated with Andy Dalton at helm. He, like you said, he is a seasoned veteran. He is not a bad quarterback whatsoever. Obviously, not Dak Prescott level, but I do think the Cowboys are definitely they could potentially win the division, but we'll have to see. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll lose this game against Washington this week. They
Mhm.
did lose last time they played Washington, but again, Andy Dalton wasn't playing. But the football team, I almost said their old name. The football team completely just stifled them. Like they only scored 3 points last time, the Cowboys, and the Washington played surprisingly well offensively for such a uh, subpar offense.
Yep.
But my boom is, I guess, a somewhat odd one, but not really, is CD Lamb, who, in my opinion, was the best rookie wide receiver before Dak Prescott got hurt. If you saw that catch last week against Minnesota, that was a crazy catch. He did like a backflip and he sprawled and it was a great catch. And like I said, I think he's a really good receiver. I think he'll be on the all rookie team along with Justin Jefferson, but he is showing to be if the top, if not top 2, if not the top rookie wide receiver in this draft class. Who's your
I
boom,
agree.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean that you're 100% right on that. CD Lamb, that catch, man, holy crap. Um, but yeah, I think that Andy Dalton, he's my boom of the week. He's showing the world that people shouldn't sleep on him. Don't forget Andy Dalton. He's been there, done that. He's led some really good teams in the past, and he's not done yet. He's still got some gas in the tank. So he's my boom of the week. What do you got for bust?
My bust is Ezekiel Elliott. As good as he is, I feel like he's been having a down year, especially behind the poor offensive line that Dallas has. And he's been fumbling the ball a lot, which is uncharacteristic of Zeke.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't really an issue with him until this year. But I mean, I like Ezekiel Elliott. Personally, I mean, as a Giants fan, I kind of despise him when he just runs all over us. But I mean, he's a cool guy. I mean, with the feed me and like jumping into the Salvation Army like bucket thing, that was also pretty funny. But I just
Yep.
think he'll have a bad week this week against Washington, especially with their solid front seven of like Chase Young and Ryan Kerrigan and all of them. I think they'll just kind of stifle him.
Yeah,
What about
absolutely.
you, Nick? Who's your bust?
My bust, it's a little biased because I have Gibson on my fantasy team, but I'm gonna go with J.D. McKissick. That is because I think Gibson has been better, and he's proving it each week, a little bit each week. He's getting better. If you look at his numbers, he's arguably an RB2 on fantasy teams. You could even argue for RB1. And I don't see McKissick continuing to the level that he has been. I know Alex Smith is a decent quarterback, maybe even above average. I don't think he gets a lot of the love that he deserves, especially coming back from that ridiculous injury. But I don't think that McKissick is going to continue at the level he has been. Um, so, and that kind of leads me into my pick for this week. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys here. 20-13. I think they're going to win this game, and I think it's a good one. I think it could go either way, but I'm going with the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, before I give my pick, I'm sure everybody knows, but I just want to clarify these are the Thanksgiving games. I know if there's some people listening for the first time or they're just trying to get into football, these games will be on tomorrow. The Lions game will be on at noon, and then the Cowboys game will be on right after this. But, yeah, I just want to put that out there that these are tomorrow because it is Thanksgiving, and there's usually 3 games, but we'll get into what happened with the last game next. But my pick is also the Cowboys. I got them winning 27-17. I think their offense is still really good without Dak, and I don't think the Washington's offense is going to be enough with Gibson, Smith, and Scary Terry McLaurin. So I think the Cowboys will win somewhat easily here.
Mm-hmm.
So our next game, which was also supposed to be played tomorrow, but today it got switched because Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins, 2 running backs for Baltimore, got COVID-19. So sending my prayers to them. I don't want them to be out for too long. They're both Mark Ingram's really good and Dobbins is a really good rookie running back. So again, like I said, this is supposed to be played tomorrow is like the Thursday night primetime game, but it got moved to Sunday at like 4:00. So we got the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and man, the Steelers are 10-0, the only undefeated team in the league, and the Ravens are coming off of 2 back-to-back losses against 2 games they arguably should have won with the Titans and the Patriots and the Titans. So this is they need to win this game because they might not make the playoffs if they lose this one. I mean, let's keep it real. If they lose this game, they'll be knocked out of winning the AFC North because they'll have 5 losses and the Steelers will have 11 wins. But the big key in this one is that the Steelers are obviously the hottest team in football. They haven't lost, and Lamar Jackson needs to get back on track quick because, in my opinion, I love Lamar Jackson. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate, but his receiving core is awful. I mean, he has arguably the worst receiving core in the league, so he doesn't really have a lot of help throwing the ball to. His receivers can't catch a wide open pass in the breadbasket. They always find out ways to drop it or not beat their man. But Lamar Jackson is a really special athlete. I think he is, I don't want to say a once in a generation, but I feel like he's one of those mobile QBs that can survive a long time. Because, we know with RG3, they get injured and they're done. They're not the same. But I feel like Lamar Jackson's different in that regard. I feel like he'll have a good long career. And that leads me to my boom, who I think is Lamar Jackson here. And I think he will be he will prove the haters wrong and have a great game despite having poor receivers, as I said. He's got Mark Andrews, but he's his tight end. I could expect Lamar putting up 30 fantasy points in this game, running all over the Steelers defense, throwing all over their defense. I just don't think I think Lamar will bounce back and be like, yeah, I'm still a good quarterback. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think Lamar Jackson is better than the hate he has been getting. However, I do think he is a little overrated. He had an amazing year last year, and hats off to him for it. But they need to get on track, like you said, now if they want to get back to the playoffs. I can't see the talent on that team. I can't see them going from the best team in the league last year and having a great record. I can't remember what it was. Maybe I don't
14-2.
Yeah, 14-2. Absurdly amazing record. And then missing the playoffs the next year. I can't see that happening. There's too much talent to let that happen. Great coaching. It just won't, in my opinion. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson for my boom of the week, too. I think he's going to bounce back. He's going to show everyone, hey, don't forget about old MVP Lamar Jackson. Let me do my thing, and I'll show you guys. The Steelers haven't, played anyone yet, and I think that's what we're going to see. So who do you think is going to bust this week?
As much as I love this player, I think he's funny. On and off the field, his celebrations are always funny and interesting, to say the least. But my bust is Juju Smith-Schuster. Like I said, I love Juju Smith. I think he's cool, but he's questionable to play right now. He might play since the game got postponed to Sunday. I think he has a hamstring issue that he suffered in the Jaguars game. So if he does play, he'll be playing hurt, so he won't be at 100%. But that's not going to be a problem for Big Ben because he still has Deontay Johnson, who, Nick, I know you're a big fan of. Like you said last week, he had a great game. Yeah. And the rookie Claypool from Notre Dame. So I don't think the Steelers will have too much of a loss here, but it still will suck without having Juju if he doesn't play. Yeah. So who's your bust and why?
I agree with your statement there. The funny thing I just want to mention, did you see actually, I don't know if it was his hamstring that did get hurt, but I saw he was on the field and he stepped on the what do you call it, the flag that the refs throw, the penalty flag, and then as soon as he stepped on it, he like tweaked his leg and he ran off to the sideline and he didn't go back on the field. It was just so weird to see a player get hurt that way, like stepping on a flag. I mean, I don't know if that's what did it, but I thought it was interesting and wanted to mention it. Um,
Oh yeah,
but,
and it's funny you say that. Real quick, I actually saw something that Orlando Brown Jr., who's offensive lineman for the Ravens, his
mhm.
dad got hit in the eye with a penalty flag, and like it basically permanently messed up his vision.
What?
So like the ref threw it in the air, and it landed right in his eye, and like his eye was messed up. Look it up, viewers.
That,
I'm pretty sure Orlando Brown Sr. You can look up what happened. Um,
what
I
are these refs
don't
doing?
quote me on that. I don't know, man. I guess they're just trying to take out all the good players. They suck and they're trying to get rid of the players.
Yeah. So, anyways, back on topic. My bust for this week, I'm gonna go with Ben Roethlisberger. He has been playing great this year. I think he's the comeback player of the year. Um, but having said that, they haven't really played a good team yet, in my opinion. Not a great one, at least. And I think the Ravens have the potential to be a great team. So for that reason, I'm going with Ben. And I can't see them winning with what they have to go up against. But who do you have winning this game then?
I have the Ravens winning 20-17. Two good defenses. We'd even mention them. Both of their defenses are really good. I think this will be like I said, a defensive game, low scoring. A defense will come through, maybe like a pick six on one end or just a key fumble, interception, something. But yeah, like I said, Ravens 20-17. Defense is going to be key here, and we'll see if Lamar Jackson can have a good bounce back week, which we both predict he will. What about you, Nick?
So for this one, I'm also going with the Ravens. I think it's going to be 24-21 Ravens. I think there's way too much on the line for Baltimore to lose this game. I think that they're looking at it like a playoff game, win or go home, and they see that they need it. So I think they're going to win. And now moving on to next week, we have the Chargers at 3-7 versus the Buffalo Bills at 7-3. Polar opposite records. I do not think these are polar opposite teams, though. I think they are both very good teams. The records don't show that, but I think this is going to be a good game. The Bills are coming off of the bye week. Are they going to be ready for it? I think it's going to be a good one for sure. How will Herbert play against a very good secondary? You know, Herbert has arguably been one of the best rookie quarterbacks we've ever seen this season. He's on track to
Ever.
break on track to break unbelievable records. He looks amazing. You know, his touch on the ball is incredible. And we're going to see what happens there. You know, Josh Allen leading the Bills. They have looked awesome too all season. It looks like a complete team. There's a lot of people thinking that they're going to make a very deep playoff run, and I could see it. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm excited for this one, definitely, even though it's a 3-7 Chargers team. So we'll see, though. So who do you have for Boom in this one?
Oh yeah, before I get to that, Nick, let me just go off of what you said. This Justin Herbert, guys, is having, like I said, one of the best seasons ever by a rookie quarterback. He's projected to break every single, let me rephrase, most major rookie passing records. The passing yards one held by Andrew Luck. The touchdowns one held by Baker Mayfield. Like he's projected to throw for like 4,400 yards and like 38 touchdowns, or 36 touchdowns. Like that's insane for a rookie quarterback. Like let me express how crazy that is. Like this is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could potentially be like, no joke, like an MVP type season as a rookie.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he's going to win MVP, but like he definitely could be top 10, you know? So this is absurd. I really love Justin Herbert, but he is not my boom this week. My boom is Josh Allen, who is having a great jump. I think he's a third-year quarterback. He always had that great arm strength, but he never had that touch. And he's been working on that touch a lot, and you can tell he still has some issues where he overthrows his targets, but I still think Josh Allen is a great quarterback, and he will show it against a great defense in LA. That acquisition of Stephon Diggs really helped him a lot as well because Stephon Diggs is also having the best season of his career in Buffalo. So I guess it definitely worked out for both people, Diggs and Allen.
Look, I like
sure.
Allen as much as the next guy. I think he's awesome, and he's been playing out of his mind. And I love to see the progression. You know, the first couple of years, he didn't have that touch on his pass, like you mentioned, and he's showing it this year, which is really great to see. Having said that, my boom for this week is actually I'm going back to the kid, Justin Herbert. I like what I'm seeing. I don't think he's going to win MVP, but I feel like we've seen MVPs win that award with worse numbers. So I think he could, you know, in another world where players aren't playing out of their mind like they are this year, you know, I think he could win it. And we could see that in years to come, like what to expect from him in years to come. I'm really excited. But he's proving, at the very least, he's the rookie of the year, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Especially with Joe Burrow going down, he is for sure the front runner for the rookie of the year.
Yeah. And it's just so fun to watch him play. Only thing I got against him is that I don't like that he cut his hair off.
Oh, yeah, man. But he hasn't lost with that new haircut. Let's keep it real.
That's true. You're right. You're 100% right. Maybe that's what he needs. But going on to bust of the game, I'm going with Stephon Diggs. I know you think Josh Allen's going to light it up in this game, but he's got to have someone to throw the ball to. And his favorite target is going to struggle here, in my opinion. The Chargers defense, they're legit. Chris Harris Jr., Casey Hayward Jr., they'll be on him. You know, he's going to be covered, and it's going to be hard for Allen to get him the ball. He might find other options, but I think we're going to have a rough one from Stephon Diggs. What about you?
Yeah. With Stephon Diggs, he also had a quiet week until that touchdown against Arizona. And Josh Allen had to throw it to Cole Beasley a lot, who actually had a really good game against Arizona. So if you're playing Stephon Diggs, expect that Cole Beasley might also have a pretty good game as well, because he's kind of like the fallback option. If Diggs isn't doing good, just throw it to Cole Beasley, a great slot receiver. So there's that. My bust is actually a man who had a great week last week against the Jets, Keenan Allen. And kind of like what Nick said about Stephon Diggs, with him being clamped up by Hayward Jr. and Harris Jr., I think the same thing's going to happen to him, but with Tre'Davious White. I mean, Trey White is a really good cornerback, a good corner piece for a great Bills defense. And I think that just the Bills secondary in general, with like Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, is like really good. I think that will test Justin Herbert's playing against a good secondary like Buffalo. I'm not saying he hasn't played good secondaries already, but this is like a good test. Like, can you pull off an upset against a good secondary and a good team overall, like the AFC East frontrunners? If he can take the Chiefs to overtime, I think he can pull off an upset. I don't think it'll happen, but I mean, his first game starting, he plays Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and almost beats them. So, I mean, it shows you how good he is.
Yep. So, yeah, for this game, my pick of the week, I'm going with the Chargers here. I see the upset happening. I like the Chargers. I like what they're doing. I like Justin Herbert. I'm a big believer. I love Keenan Allen. I disagree with your bust. I think they're going to win this game. I think it's going to be 30-21 Chargers. What about you?
I think the Bills are going to win, and I have a very similar score to you. I have 31-20 Bills. And I just think Josh Allen's going to ball out. I mean, they've lost to three great teams: the Cardinals, Chiefs, and they also lose to. I'm pulling up real quick. Hold on. I should have looked this up beforehand, but my point being is the Bills have only lost to like good teams, and I think they will continue their run on only losing to good teams with this game right here. The Titans, that's who they lost to. The Titans, Chiefs, and the Cardinals. So I think the Bills are going to win 31-20, like I said, and they're going to prove why they're the AFC East front runner and a potentially sleeper deep run, like you said, in the playoffs. All right, next game, AFC South battle, which is surprisingly a tight division. It's not usually like this, or not. These teams aren't really that good. When I think of the AFC South, I'm like, oh yeah, the 4th seed in the AFC, or oh yeah, 9-7, they make the playoffs. It's like the NFC East of the AFC, in my opinion, usually. But we got the Titans and Colts, who are both 7-3, both coming off good wins against the Ravens for the Titans and the Packers and the Colts. This is going to be a fun game to watch. Phillip Rivers played really good against the Packers, which me and you both did not expect. And the Titans are still really good with the 1-2 punch of Tannehill and Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But the Colts defense is arguably better than the Steelers. If they can hold the Packers to 3 points in the second half, that's unbelievable. And that the field goal was like a last-second field goal. So basically all of the second half, the Packers were held scoreless. But the Titans do have Derrick Henry, who is, in my opinion, the best running back in the league. He's just a big dude, and he is hard to tackle. He is hard to bring down. He's like a horse, you know what I mean? He just keeps on going. Chug, chug, chugga, 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 you know. Hard to stop. He's like a train, too. He's like a horse train, you know what I mean? This big-ass dude coming at you. How are you going to stop him? You know what I mean? So I love Derrick Henry. I think he's the real deal. And I think this is going to be a good game for him against a tough defense, my fault. Who's your boom to win this week and why, Nick?
Yeah, so I agree with what you're saying. I do think King Henry is legit. He's proving how good he is. I think both these teams are very good. But I think the Colts defense will get the better of the Titans in this game. And for that reason, I'm actually going with the Colts defense here and special teams. I think they're so good that they're going to stop everyone, including King Henry, Derrick Henry, in his tracks. I think that, they have just been the key to this team's success all season. They will be tested this week, but I think they passed that test. What do you got? Who do you think is going to be the boom?
I think Derrick Henry will boom. That's my pick. I say like I said, he's arguably the best running back in the league. He's going to continue playing at this high level unless he gets hurt, which I don't see happening because he's conditioned. And like I said, he's big, and he's so hard to stop. Like it's like I saw this thing. Like, what would you rather happen? You get tackled by Aaron Donald, or you try to tackle Derrick Henry? I'm like, I'm taking neither, honestly. If I see Derrick Henry running at me, I'm dropping down. And if I see Aaron Donald running at me, I'm running out of bounds or I'm falling down, man. He's also another scary dude. So man. He's hard to stop, man. And I love Derrick Henry. I think he brings back the old school smash mouth style of football. But I think Derrick Henry's going to boom on the tough defense. What about you, Nick? Who do you think's going to bust?
Man, I don't want people to think I hate Derrick Henry because I love Derrick Henry. I think he's fun. I think he's awesome. I think he's a class act dude. I think he goes out there, works hard. I wouldn't want to get run over by him either. He scares the crap out of me. He is a monster. But having said that, he is the bust this week. I don't think he's going to be able to run at all. I think that the Colts defense is going to stop him. I think that they've put up great performances all season, and I think it's going to continue here. What about you?
So, Nick, I hope you don't run into Derrick Henry this week because he will run you over for that comment.
I know. I'm sorry, Henry.
My bust is T.Y. Hilton. He's been having a really bad year, which sucks because I like T.Y. Hilton. The connection with him and Phillip Rivers is just not there. I think he'll be leaving Indy in the offseason. And let's explore that just a little bit. Where do you think would be a good fit for T.Y. Hilton to go in the offseason? I think a team like the Patriots who need receivers, maybe the Packers, but where do you think he'll go? Or do you think he'll stay in Indy for longer?
Definitely him leaving. Everyone expected him to have a career season with, a great quarterback coming in, probably the best quarterback they've had since Andrew Luck retired. But it's not there. You can't fit a square peg into a round hole. And I could see him leaving, and maybe I'm a little biased here, but I could see him going to the Giants. Someone like that. The team obviously needs a good receiver, a veteran receiver. If they don't target wide receiver in the draft, maybe they bring one in who's a little older, a seasoned veteran. I could see something like that happening.
Awesome. I could see that happening too. I agree.
So who do you have for the pick on this game?
I think the Titans are going to win. I know I said this last week, and you said it too, but it's hard to beat a good team twice. And I think the Titans, they were in control for most of the game last week, or last time these two teams played. But in the second half, the Colts just ran away with it. Mm-hmm. But I think the Titans will win 17-14 in a very defensive game. I think Derrick Henry will score both of their touchdowns, and I think that the Titans defense will at least stifle. I don't think stifle, but at least slow down the Colts' mediocre offense. So there's that. But who's your pick to win, Nick, and why?
I'm going with the Colts in this game. Actually, I like their defense a lot. If you haven't noticed from what I've said the last 10 minutes or so, I think they're going to win 14 this game. I think they're going to stop the Titans, and I think it's going to be one of those boring games to watch because defense will be so relevant. Maybe I'm wrong, but we shall see. Now moving.
I think.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh wait, Nick. I think you may have cut out when you were saying your pick, but he said 14-6.
Correct.
I just reiterate that because I'm pretty sure you cut. You said 14, and you had a pause. So yes, Nick thinks Colts 14-6. I just want to just in case people didn't hear that.
Yeah. So moving on now to the next game, we have the Panthers at 4-7, and the Vikings at 4-6. I think this should be a fun game. It's interesting though. There's reports out there that we could see Christian McCaffrey come back next week. I've seen reports that he may have even tried to practice. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows what the heck's going on with Christian McCaffrey. It's sad. Are we going to see him again this year at all? I think.
I hope so.
I know. I do too, because that guy is in the prime of an incredible career, one of the best running backs we've seen in a while. So I hope he does come back soon. And that brings up the next running back on the other side of the ball, Dalvin Cook. Has he taken over the best running back in the league role? Some people would say Derrick Henry from the game before, maybe Alvin Kamara. But look what Cook has done. He's slowed down a little bit in the last game or so, 2 games or so. But look what he's put up, multiple 40-point performances on the season. It's going to be a really good matchup. I don't think Christian McCaffrey returns this week. I think it's almost certain he's not. But, who knows? We saw P.J. Walker, I believe is that his name, P.J. Walker, the quarterback.
Yeah, the XFL quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he played pretty well out there, So there's a lot of moving parts in this game. We'll see what happens. It's exciting though, it's kind of like the unknown game in my opinion this week. So who do you have for a boom in this one?
Let me just say real quick. Christian McCaffrey, I just got a report he will not be playing this week. So there's that. And Teddy Bridgewater will be coming back this week to play. He just had a 1 week off because of his knee. And me and Nick weren't sure if he would be playing last week, and they just took him off a week to rest. But PJ Walker, like you said, had a good game. But there is that. And also, before we get into the booms and busts and our picks, both of these teams are better than their record shows. But more particularly the Vikings, because they have McCaffrey's been out for the Panthers, and they just have an overall better team, the Vikings, in my opinion, because they got Cook and Thielen and Rudolph and Justin Jefferson and a decent quarterback and Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. But there's that. These teams are definitely better than their record shows.
No doubt.
So going into what I said before, before I forgot, my boom is the rookie receiver Justin Jefferson from LSU, right? I think he's from LSU.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. And he played good with Joe Burrow, and he's playing good with Kirk Cousins. In my opinion, if Dak did not get hurt, Lamb would be my number 1 receiver. But with CeeDee Lamb having Dak out, I think the best receiver in the class so far is Justin Jefferson. He's just an excellent rookie wide receiver. He was taken somewhat late. He was like the 4th rookie or the 4th receiver taken. And he's proving I should have been taken first by the Raiders.
Yeah.
He's excellent. And him and Thielen will cook up a somewhat weak Panthers secondary. And speaking of Adam Thielen, Nick, who is your boom?
Oh, man, I wonder. Yeah, I think we had the same exact idea in this one. It's just I went to the other Minnesota wide receiver. I'm going with Adam Thielen. He had a great week last week. He's had a great season. He's putting up a career season. And, he's staying healthy. And that's what is exciting to see. I can't remember the stats, but he's ranked first in a lot of the key areas for wide receiver. And I think that just continues here this week. And it's going to be a fun game. But, I think that he is able to outperform that Panthers weak secondary in this one. For busts in this one, I am going to go with Mike Davis. You know, even uh, he's starting this week. We know that now. He is slowed down considerably though since the last few weeks, and it's not the same as it was when he first took over for McCaffrey. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a great running back, and I think he has a lot of potential to be a number one on a lot of teams. But it's slowed down lately, and I think that continues with this matchup here. What about you? What do you think?
I agree with you. Mike Davis is a good running back. He could be a RB1 a lot of places, but he's also a good solid RB2, especially if McCaffrey's injury prone. You know, they always want to keep a good running back behind him.
Yeah.
But my bust is another Panthers player. I have Curtis Samuel. He had a good game last week with PJ Walker, but I think he'll have a subpar week. I think mainly because of I think Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore are just going to outperform him. DJ Moore had a good game and Robbie Anderson had an okay game. But this Panthers receiving core, let's just say that this is really good. It could be the best receiving core in the league, in my opinion. Top 3 for sure. I mean, all of these guys could be RB1s, wide receiver 1s on some teams, like the Jaguars, like just an example. But this is a good receiving core, and I feel like someone has to be kind of shafted on targets a week. You can't have 3 touchdowns across all of them. I mean, the chances of that happening are so slim. So I think the one who gets the short end of the stick this week is Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, I could see it. Definitely. Having said that, who do you think is the pick of the week for this game? Who do you think is going to win?
I got Minnesota winning this game 31-21. Like I said, I think Jefferson and, like you said, Phelan, I think they'll cook up the Panthers' weak secondary. Kirk Cousins will have a good game, and the Panthers will be kind of struggling without Christian McCaffrey. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I agree. The Vikings are going to win this game. I think it's going to be 21-17 Vikings. I think that, like you mentioned earlier, both these teams are better than their record shows, but I think the Vikings are a better team. That's just my opinion, but we'll see. So moving on, the next game we have the Browns at 7-3 and the Jaguars at 1-9. Will, what do you got on
Jaguars winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah, okay.
Minshew Mania, baby. When's he coming back?
Yep.
Let's just say the Browns are 7-3. This has never happened in my lifetime. I don't remember the last time the Browns were this good, but it's almost like, why are the Browns so good? Let's be honest. Why are they so good? Is it because they have a great quarterback in Baker Mayfield? No. Do they have a good coach? He's okay. He's better than Freddie Kitchens. But they're so good because of their run offense, guys. Like, I did not think looking into the season that the Browns would have a number 3rd ranked rush offense in football. If you told that to me, I'd be like, you're just lying. They have a subpar offensive line at best. That's being nice. And I just didn't expect their offense to be so focused on the run. You got Austin Hooper coming in from Atlanta. You got David Njoku, OBJ, Jarvis Landry. Like, receivers, hello. Like, these are good receivers. I thought this would be a pass-first team, but no. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, they're explosive, man. There's nothing else to say. Their run offense is legit. And if they had a quarterback like Lamar Jackson or like any mobile quarterback, it'd be even better. Because you take the Ravens system, but with good running backs or better running backs, and this is what the Browns are.
Yep. No, I mean, I agree completely. Just to add on to that, look what Kareem Hunt did when he was the number 1 back. I'm not saying he didn't do well, because he did. He did fine. He did very well. But with Nick Chubb in there, Kareem Hunt is even better. That team is a run-heavy team. And they have arguably one of the, best, you could have said arguably one of the best receiving cores at the beginning of the season, with OBJ in there and Jarvis Landry. Now it's just Jarvis Landry. But it's insane. They drafted Baker Mayfield number 1 overall to be the franchise guy. He's proving that he's a game manager at best. Don't get me started on him. But it's fun to see real run first, run heavy, run it down your throat offense. It really is. And
Yeah, I agree.
that leads me right into my boom. I'm going with Kareem Hunt, baby. He looks better with Chubb out there, as the number one. It gives him the chance to come and be the third down back, be the receiving back. Let him do his thing, let Chubb go out there and wear everyone down. And then, he's that quick hitter. So I'm excited to see what he could do. What about you? Who do you have for boom?
My boom is the other Browns running back, Nick Chubb
You can't
from
go wrong.
Georgia. You can't go wrong. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, let's not forget they beat the Colts.
Yep.
And we're talking about how good the Colts defense is. And
Mm-hmm.
I looked up the Browns schedule and I was like, people are saying the Browns didn't beat any good teams. But I mean, they beat the Colts. And the Colts defense is obviously really good. And they scored 42 points against the Colts. I kid you not. They scored 42 points against the Colts. So let's just say that the Colts defense, like we said, Nick goes on. My fault. They've scored 32 points. My bad. But still, 32 points against the Colts defense or off defense is really good. But the reason why I'm picking Nick Chubb is because they have he's ran over 100 yards in the last 2 games. And I think that since he returned from injury, that's why I said the last 2 games. And I think that'll continue, especially against such a weak defense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you on that. The run defense or run offense it's incredible. And it's so fun to see both of them just annihilate. And I love, what I'm seeing from him. So for me, for this game, my bust, I'm actually going to go with the running back on the other side of the ball. I'm going with Robinson here. The steal of many people's fantasy season, whether you got him late in the draft or you got him in free agency on the waiver wire. I think he's going to come back down to earth. Yeah, you. I think it's time for him to come back down to earth a little bit. I still think he's good and he could have a good game, but I think we're going to have to see a Jaguars team that throws the ball a little more than they want to, just because they're going to have limited opportunities out there. With the Browns running the ball so much, they're going to run that clock a lot of this game, and they're going to control the time of possession. And I don't see James Robinson having the targets or the number of attempts that he usually does. So what about you? Who do you think is your bust?
Although I think he is a future MVP, I think it's Baker Mayfield.
Oh my God, get out of here.
No, I'm just playing. I don't think he's an MVP. But in all seriousness, I think that Baker Mayfield will be the bust of the week. He's a game manager. Let's be honest. He doesn't. He's kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion, where he just hands it off to the running back, maybe hit him with play action, but he doesn't throw the ball a lot. And when he does throw it, he's inaccurate. I saw this one thing where he had a dude wide open in the end zone on I think a drag or a slant, and he overthrew him by too high, about by a solid 5 yards. I'm like, really? This is your number 1 overall pick? Come on now. I could have made that throw.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't like Baker Mayfield. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate, especially from a dude named Nick. But I still think he's a game manager. He's solid, but he won't take you to the promised land, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree completely. I don't see him playing good ever. I'm not a fan of his. But having said that, throwing shade, I think this team has enough to win this game. I think the Browns will win 28-14. I don't think it's any shock. Going into the season, everyone said the Jaguars were the worst team in the league. They won the first week, and we're like, hey, hold on, maybe they're not so bad. No, they're that bad. They may not be the worst team, Jets, but they're bad. They're real bad, and it continues here with the Browns winning 28-14. What do you think? Who do you think is going to win?
I think the Browns are going to win 24-7. I don't see the Jaguars doing much against the Browns, and the Browns are just going to run it down their throats. And I don't think anyone on the Jaguars defense can stop Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. It's like the 1-2 punch. It's like Batman and Robin. So
yeah,
there's that.
I think it's not even going to be a good game, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, let's see, man. Let's see. Our next game, and here we go. We get to talk about our team, Nick. Big Blue, man. They had a bye last week. They're playing Cincinnati. And before I start, let me just send my prayers out to Joe Burrow. Awful injury. I love Joe Burrow ever since he was in LSU, being arguably having the best season in college football history. I've loved him, and it sucks to see a player go down like that. He's a class act on and off the field. Have a speedy recovery. 9 to 12 months is a very long time frame. I mean, he might miss the start of next season with the injury he had. He had a lot of damage to his knee.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and Nick are both sending our prayers to you, Joe Burrow. Have a good Thanksgiving. Have a good recovery, and yeah, stay safe. We love you, Joey B. Smooch, smooch. With getting back on track, the Giants are back in the playoff hunt. I don't remember this since we got blown out by the Packers in Green Bay. 38-13. Remember that, Nick, with OBJ?
I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to either. That was the last time I had faith in this team. But the Giants are surprisingly in the playoff hunt at 3-7, which shouldn't be a thing. I mean, let's be honest. This shouldn't be happening. But I'm not going to complain. I mean, if we make the playoffs, I'll be happy.
Yep.
But this is a must-win game for the Giants. I mean, they have no reason to lose this, especially with Joe Burrow going down. This is like the Giants' game to lose. And honestly, like without being biased, I really think the Giants will take the division. They're the hottest team in the NFC East. Daniel Jones, when he doesn't turn the ball over, he's not that bad of a quarterback. And their defense is so underrated and probably top 10, in my opinion. On the closer side of 10, obviously not like by the Colts and the Steelers, but I'd say they're probably number 10 or 9. You got a good linebacker in Martinez, a great corner in Bradbury, and Jabril Peppers, what's his name? Not Julian Love, Logan Ryan, and Xavier McKinney, who was the best free safety in the draft, is making his debut this game.
Is he really?
This guy, he is, yeah.
Wow.
Him and O'Shane, I can't even say his last name, Ximenez or whatever.
Zimenez,
yeah. O'Shane, Zimenez, yeah. They're both making their debuts this week. So the Giants secondary, like again, let me not be biased. Let me be serious. The Giants secondary is actually really good with James Bradbury, great corner, Jabril Peppers, who's a good strong safety, and McKinney, who is a free safety. Logan Ryan's been playing safety when he's gone, but I'm pretty sure with McKinney in, Logan Ryan will move back to corner. So that's like his natural positions, like a cornerback. So we'll have Logan Ryan, Bradbury, Jabril Peppers, and McKinney as our secondary. That's a really good secondary. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be a great game for the Giants, I think. They're going to show the world that don't sleep on us. You know, we're better than our record shows. If you look at what they've done in the last 6 games, they're 3-3. And those 3 losses have come at a combined total of 7 points, maybe 6. I can't remember. So they have been in every game all season except for the 49ers early on.
49ers game.
Yeah, but they're a better team than their record shows by far. You know, it's exciting to see guys coming back from injury now. And I saw, I don't know if it was SportsCenter, but I saw a commentator say, out of all the quarterbacks in NFC East, who do you want on your team right now? It was Daniel Jones. If the dude doesn't turn the ball over, he's a winner. He does what he needs to do to go out there and win the game. You don't want Carson Wentz because, I mean, look what's going on with that situation right now. It's a nightmare. You don't want the quarterback for Washington. What's his name? Alex Smith.
Or Dwayne Haskins. Or Kyle Allen. They've had 3 of them. They don't know who to pick.
And you don't want Andy Dalton. You know, I mean, he's proven he's decent in the past, but you know what you've got out of him. Daniel Jones is the X factor, fun quarterback that can take over a game. He can throw 5 touchdowns a game. He's done it in the past. He can run 23 plus miles per hour if he needs to. He's done that this season. He may have tripped, but he's done it. So it's just exciting. It's just exciting. And you guys can probably tell we're Giants fans. We're excited for the future, but it's just, I think if you're an NFL fan, you should be excited for the future of this team because they're young and talented, and everyone loves Joe Judge. You know, the team loves him, the players love him, so it's just fun.
Yeah, and real quick before we get into our booms, We are Giants fans, but we're not dumb Giants fans. Like they're playing Seattle next week, and I don't expect the Giants to beat the Seahawks. Like we won't be biased in the future. Like we genuinely think.
And Giants over the Seahawks.
Oh, really? You think the Giants are going to beat the Seahawks?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I'm just saying, like, we're not going to be biased every week. I don't want people to think, oh, they're stupid Giants fans. They're always going to pick the Giants. Me. Like, no, that's not the case. But I agree with everything Nick said. Like, if you actually watch the Giants, they're a really good young team. And you have to remember, our best player is not playing right now. We've played this whole season, basically, without Saquon Barkley, who no one can tell me otherwise. He is a top 2 running back when healthy. Like when you're getting comparisons from Barry Sanders coming out of college, you have to be doing something right. Like let's be honest, Barry Sanders is arguably the best running back to ever play the game of football, and he's getting comparisons from him. So like, come on, people. Like obviously Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook are good, but like were they compared to Barry Sanders? No.
Yep.
So let's go. Let's stop. Me and him could talk about the Giants all day. So
we do pretty much.
Yeah, we basically do. Yeah. So let's get into our booms. I'll start it off, and then I'll pass it over to you, Nick. I think it's going to be Daniel Jones. All right. I really like Daniel Jones. In the last 2 games, he hasn't turned the ball over, and he's been playing pretty well. But he is actually a real dual threat quarterback, which coming out of college was not expected from him. Like it just kind of happened. He had that really good that read option on Philadelphia, which is a great play. He can obviously throw. But I think the Bengals' defense is very poor. It's subpar, and Daniel Jones is just going to torch him. Like he'll throw 300 yards, maybe run an extra 50. I don't see anyone again. Who's your boom, Nick?
Yeah, quickly to add on to that, I think Daniel Jones is a streaming option for anyone out there that needs a quarterback this week. If you need a quarterback, you could stream him, and I think you'll be okay. But my pick for boom of the week, I'm going with Wayne Gallman, the running back for the Giants. You know, he has looked excellent this season when he was out. He's been out there. They had signed, Freeman. Yep, they signed
Freeman.
And
what's his name? Dion Lewis.
Dion Lewis in the offseason. Yep, they signed Freeman to be the number 1 back, though, and he looked fine when he was out there. But since Freeman went down, I feel like that was a blessing for Wayne Gallman because he's shown the team that he is the young future RB2 behind Saquon for many years to come. And I think he will have a great game. He's a big, powerful, strong guy. And I think he's going to do great here. So for my bust in this game, I'm with Brandon Allen, the quarterback that was just declared to be the starter for the Bengals going in. I'm surprised they didn't go with Finley here. I thought that was interesting. But Will touched on this earlier, and it's very true. The Giants' defense is really underrated. They're very good. They have potentially 4 Pro Bowl players on the defensive side of the ball. The Giants haven't had 4 Pro Bowl players on their team in a season, and I think 5 years plus. So
when we Saquon's first year.
Yeah, so it's really exciting.
They had that for them, but yes.
And I think that Brandon Allen is going to struggle here. You know, I don't know if he's ever started a game in the NFL. I don't think he has. But I don't even know who the heck this guy is. Ben DiNucci. But yeah, and their line is rough. I mean, look what happened to Joe Burrow last week. That offensive line is the reason Joe Burrow went down. They failed him, and I hate to say it, but that's what happened, and it sucks. So who do you see as a bust?
Well, I just want to say screw you to the Bengals line for hurting Joey Burrow.
Right.
All right. You should sue all of them. But also, real quick, I saw this thing on First Take. Stephen A. Smith said, and I agree with him, it was very selfish for the Bengals to start Joe Burrow when no other quarterback did that. Like the Dolphins didn't do it, and neither did the Chargers. And they threw him right out there, and he was doing good. Don't get me wrong, but like you don't want to get your franchise quarterback hurt. And look what they did. Look at what Patrick Mahomes did. He sat behind Alex Smith for the whole first season. Now look at him.
Yep.
There is no reason that the Bengals could not have sat Joe Burrow for the year just to get him right. Maybe playing the last week, but they chose to be selfish and try to win, and this is where they got him. 2 wins, a tie, and injured for possibly sometime next year.
Yep.
It was bad. But my running back is Giovanni Bernard, who is the Bengals' supposed to be backup, but Joe Mixon is And like Nick said, their offensive line is really bad, and he hasn't really put up good numbers since Joe Mixon has been out. I don't expect the Bengals to perform real well without Joe Burrow. I don't think they'll win another game the rest of the year. I'll be honest. They might get a top 3 pick. So going into my pick, talking about winning and losing, I think the Giants are going to win 28-10. I think our defense will just stifle Brandon Allen, who, like Nick said, I don't think he's even started a game. And I don't think they'll be able to get the run game going because of their poor offensive line.
Yeah.
So overall, I think the Giants will win this game somewhat easily without being as biased as possible. I'm trying to keep it real here. But who do you think's going to win, Nick, and why? Got the Bengals winning?
Yeah, no. No Bengals here. I think the Giants will 21-10. It's a little closer than what you had. But like you said, how the hell are the Bengals going to score? They can't run the ball. I mean, Giovanni Bernard has been a decent option since Joe Mixon has gone down, but that line is not very good. And we have no idea what the hell Brandon Allen is going to do. Maybe he'll show up. You know, we're just guessing here, but I don't see it. So I think it's the Giants 21-10. So let's move on to the next game. We've got the Cardinals and the Patriots. Cardinals are 6-4. Patriots are 4-6. I can't believe what happened with the Cardinals last week. I love the Cardinals.
That shocked you?
I love the Cardinals. I just need to move on from last week. They need a bounce back here. I think they're going to bounce back, and I think they're going to win this game, hopefully. But I think a lot of people inside the organization aren't saying it, but I think they're worried about Kyler Murray's shoulder. I know he tweaked it mid-game, and he didn't look the same. I don't know if you watched it. I don't know if you saw, but every time he threw the ball, he just kind of winced in this way that kind of worried me a little bit. And I think that the organization is trying to cover it up, like, hey, no, he's fine. What are you talking about? No, he's fine. We'll see. But, it's just, I think it's time for them to get back on track and show the rest of the league that they are very good. And that offense is super high powered. And I think they'll show it, I think that it's time. What do you think? What do you got to add to this game?
What do I think? I think that the Patriots lost a tough game to the Texans. Gridiron and Cam Newton could not deliver. He did have a good game. Like, let's be honest, he threw for a touchdown. And he ran for one, I believe, or maybe he just ran for one. But Cam Newton performed pretty well. But I don't see the Patriots winning this game, man. A good quarterback and a good coach can only take you so far. Like, the Patriots have no one on offense for him to throw to. It's kind of sucky. Once Edelman went down, like, this joke's been going around for the Patriots for years, but they work at Walmart and in the day, every other day, and Sunday they have to play football. I did not hear of a single Patriots receiver besides N'Keal Harry, because he was a first-round pick, before they play for the Patriots. Like, I don't know who Dymere Bird is. I didn't know who Jacoby Myers was. Like, they're just kind of like irrelevant players on their receiving core.
Yeah.
But I think I agree with you 100%. I think Kyler Murray's shoulder might be a problem. I did notice that, like what you're saying. I didn't see the game, but I know what you're talking about. Like, I saw pictures and videos of it. But especially with a deep threat like DeAndre Hopkins, like, they can't utilize him to his full potential if his shoulder's messed up,
Yeah.
That being said, Nick, who is your boom and why this week against the Patriots? Cardinals against the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, I am a little worried about Kyler Murray's shoulder, but I'm not too worried. I think he's really good. And I think that for this game, we're going to see DeAndre Hopkins have a much better game than he did last week. He's so good, DeAndre Hopkins. He's arguably one of the best in the league. And you don't see a guy like that have 2 bad games in a row. He hasn't all season. He's been awesome. And Kyler Murray likes to get him involved. He gets everyone involved. He's an excellent quarterback. And I think he's going to feed DeAndre Hopkins this game. And I think it's going to be a fun matchup to see DeAndre Hopkins out there. But who do you have for boom?
Yeah, just saying, it might be a tough game for him because he will have Stephon or J.C. Jackson on him, who are both good corners. Obviously, Gilmore's super good. but it's a little bit risky for him. I almost disagree with you on this one because like Stephon Gilmore is just so good, man. You know. I hope I'm wrong. I
He's
like
not
DeAndre
Stephon Gilmore
Hopkins.
last year, though. It's different now.
He is not. You are right, but he's still a lot corner really good. You know, you
Yeah.
can't deny that.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope I'm wrong. Like I said, I like D Hop, and I still don't like the Patriots even after Brady left. But my boom is Damian Harris, who some of you more casual fans may be like, who's Damian Harris? Well, he is, in my opinion, RB1 in New England, especially after Rex Burkhead he is a very good running back. He ran for over 100 yards when they beat the Ravens, and last week he scored a touchdown against Houston. So he is one of the few bright spots on the average offense that New England has. I think him and Cam Newton have good chemistry. And I think he is just a very underrated running back. And if he's on your waiver wire in fantasy, I know, but Nick, he was on your team in our league, and you dropped him, and then I scooped him up, and he's going to be a solid bench option in case someone gets hurt on my team. He's a good pickup on the waiver wire if he's on your if he is on it in your league.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I like him too. I did drop him in our league. He got off to a rough start. He was injured for a good part of the season. And then when he came back, he just kind of slowly got more involved. But now I agree. He's the clear number one running back there. I think it's exciting to see a good running back in New England. It's weird, but it's exciting to see. But talking about running backs, that leads to my bust of the week. I'm going with Kenyon Drake. Last week we
What?
saw once again, Kenyon Drake. Once again we saw that Edmonds showed that he's the better running back. He's the option that just plays better, and I don't like what I'm seeing from Kenyon Drake. He had a decent game last week, but when your RB2 is consistently outperforming your RB1, very quickly your RB2 will become your RB1. So I could see that happening pretty soon. So who do you have for bust?
My bust for the week is Jacoby Myers, who is also he's on the Patriots. He's their top receiver with Edelman being gone. He's been having a solid year, but he'll have Patrick Peterson on him, who people kind of forgot about. I don't know why. Patrick Peterson's really good. A little bit older, but he's still a great corner for Arizona. But yeah, I mean, Jacoby Myers still young, and he'll get locked up. And the fact that the Patriots are a run first team, which again, like you said, with having a good running back in New England's weird. It's weird for them having a run first team. With Cam Newton, who's their mobile quarterback, and great running backs. When healthy, they have Sonny Michel, Rex Burkhead, James White, and Damian Harris. Four, in my opinion, starter running backs anywhere, or at least RB2s. So that being said, I don't think the Patriots are a pass first team for one, and he'll get locked up by a good corner in Peterson. Who's your pick to win the Jacoby Myers I'm talking about? Who's your pick to win, Nick, and why?
Going with the Cardinals in this game. I think they're going to win 27-17. I like the Cardinals. I like Murray. I like Hopkins. Kirk has been awesome. Fitzgerald had a great week last week. I like Edmonds, and I think that they're the better team. I think offensively they are the better team, no doubt. It should be fun, but we'll see. Who do you have for this game winning?
I got the Cardinals winning as well. A little bit closer than what you said. I got them winning 24-20. I just don't think I think they'll have to abandon the run, and they'll have to air it out, which is hard because Cam Newton is not the most accurate passer, and he also does not have good receivers to throw to. So it's not looking good for the receiving core in New England, and they might not make the playoffs this year, which is also very weird to see the Patriots not in the playoffs. So, but we'll see. Going into our next game, a tough loss for both of these teams last week. Well, one of them was expected. Let's be honest. We got the Miami Dolphins, who were 6-4, upset by the Broncos last week, and the Jets at 0-10, who, sorry, Jets fans, are eliminated from the playoffs because we all knew you guys were going to win 7 games, starting with the Chargers, and somehow make the playoffs. But the problem I see and that Tua got benched, and Nick, I know you're thinking that who knows if he'll play again. I'm almost certain, I'm 99.99% sure that Brian Flores only took Tua out of the game because of the offensive line was playing horrible against the Broncos pass rush, and he didn't want Tua to get hurt because he got sacked like 8 times or 6 times. Like, he got sacked a lot, and he did not want Tua to get hurt, especially off that hip injury. So I'm pretty sure Tua is fine. I don't think Fitz is the new starter. He didn't want him to get hurt, which I don't blame him. Coming off of hip surgery, a hip injury. If he has another hip injury, he might not ever play again. It's so important to have good hips in football, and that's why I'm thinking he just was being precautionary. But who knows? There's that slim chance that he thinks Fitz is the move, but I'm almost certain that Tua just got bent because he didn't want him to get hurt. But on the other side of the thing, will the Jets ever win? Answer, no. They're going to be 0-16. It looks like Frank Gore will not retire this year because he said he won't retire unless they win a game. So, yeah.
I feel so bad.
It was very sad. I do too, bro. I almost started to cry. Low key, I'm like, homie just wants to win one game. Can you guys do that? One game, please, for Frank Gore.
Yep.
So he can retire a happy man. Anyway, Nick, who is your boom and why?
So, yeah, actually, I am leaning on the fence a little more about who's starting quarterback in this game. But for a different reason. I do agree that Flores pulled Tua because he didn't want him to get injured. But look at who they're playing this week. They're playing the Jets. I think if the Dolphins ever needed to play their quote unquote backup quarterback and, not worry about the future and play a guy that they trust in Fitzpatrick, it's going to be this game. If it's Fitzpatrick, I'm going with Devontae Parker as my boom for the week. The reason is because Fitzpatrick obviously likes Devontae Parker a lot. He loves targeting him. He's his number one receiver. If Tua ends up playing, I'm going with the Dolphins defense. So, you get a couple options here. I like the Dolphins defense a lot this year, which is I never thought I would ever say that. But it's going to be interesting. I personally, I think Tua will play, but I think they should play Fitz because the dude's awesome. Like,
there's
he's
no reason to play him.
Yeah, and it's like they don't need to. They could win with their second team out there at every position. So why risk Tua this game, in my opinion? But
I agree.
So
because
yeah. Go ahead.
Wait, let me just say, the Dolphins are in the playoff hunt, but like the Jet. I mean, I know we troll on the Jets, and we're being for real. Like, the Jets really are really, really bad. Like, I know people say this every year. Oh, could Clemson beat the Jets? I think they could. Like, let's be real, man. Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne or whatever his name is, Jamar Chase, I think they would cook the Jets. And I'm being serious, man. Like, I'm not even joking. And, I mean, feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below, but, like, the Jets are awful. And then I know they almost beat the Chargers last week, but I don't see a point. Like, your point does make sense. I mean, they're in the playoff hunt, like I said, but, like, you can play Fitz for one game and not worry about. It's not like Fitzpatrick's awful. He's not like
they don't miss
Brandon Allen.
They don't miss a step with Fitz in there, So it doesn't hurt for them to play Fitzpatrick, in my opinion, in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I could see that happening. My boom is also the Dolphins defense. Like you're saying, if Tua plays, I think they're going to destroy the Jets offense in every way. The pass rush, the run stopping, the secondary will get picks, the whole 9 yards. And I also believe they are super underrated. Like what you said, Nick, I would never thought at the beginning of the season I'd be saying, wow, the Dolphins defense is really good, because they did pick up Van Noy and Byron Jones, but like I didn't think that would make their defense really good,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And, talking about Miami's defense, that leads right into my bust of the game. It's the guy on the other side of the ball that has to play against Miami defense. I'm going with Jamison Crowder. He's the one that has to match up against Byron Jones. He's the one that has to match up against Davian Howard. And it sucks for him. I'm sorry, because he's having a great season. But it's going to be rough out there for him. And I can't see him having a good game. We'll see, though. Who do you have as well?
Yeah, my bust is the other Jets receiver, Rashard Perriman, I think he just came off the IR a couple weeks ago, who's, in my opinion, he's pretty underrated. But I have the same thing as you're saying, man. Like, either Byron Jones or Xavier Howard will be on him the whole game, like one or the other. And
Yeah.
they're both really good cornerbacks, and I don't think either of them will be really good this game. Like, let's keep it real. So I don't know, man. This might be a tough week for every single Jets receiver, not just these two. Like Chris Herndon, the tight end, he might have a rough game. Like, plus who's their quarterback? Is it going to be Flacco? Is it going to be Sam Darnold? So that's also in the picture. Like, is Darnold even going to play again for the Jets? Because if they draft Trevor Lawrence, like, what's going on? So,
Yep. Yeah, I agree completely. So let's move on to picks for this game. I'm going with Miami. I don't think that's any surprise. I think most people out there think Miami's going to win this game, and I'm going to give them a score of 21-10. Who do you think's going to win?
I think that the Dolphins are also going to win. And I like you said, I don't think there's any reason to think that Jets will win this. I don't see them winning at all.
Yeah, no, I agree completely.
All right, Nick, why don't you talk to us about this next game? Another fun game to watch. The Raiders, who are 6-4, and the Falcons at 3-7. Let's have a little talk about the Raiders, man. Tough loss on Sunday night for Mahomes being Mahomes. Let's keep it real. But let's just talk, man. What do you think about the Raiders and this Falcons team? And
wow,
what's going to happen?
That was a great game last week. The Raiders, they're good. They're scary good, and they're awesome. I think it's going to continue here. John Gruden, he's showing that he's a great coach, and I think the Falcons, they're in a little bit of a disarray right now. What are they going to do with Julio Jones? What are they going to do with Matt Ryan? Are they thinking about moving on? They're both older now, and it's just that team. We mentioned trending teams earlier. That team is trending down fast, and the Raiders, they're trending up fast. That team is awesome, and I could see them getting a deep run into the playoffs. And how fun would it be to see the Raiders match up against the Chiefs in the playoffs for a third time on the season? I would love to see that. It's just we'll see, but I would love it. So what do you think? You have anything else you want to add to that game?
No, yeah, I have been a fan, not a fan like the Giants, but like a fan of the Raiders ever since week 1. I've been saying, don't sleep on the Raiders, man. Don't sleep on the Raiders. They're going to be legit. The coach, John Gruden, who most people might be like, oh, who's John Gruden? He won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. Not way before my time. Like when I was like a kid, probably like an infant. Long time ago, 17 years ago, 18 years ago. You probably remember that, Nick, the Gruden Bowl. He beat Oakland, actually, when he was a coach of the Buccaneers.
Yep.
But John Gruden is a good coach. I know most people may only know him for being an ESPN dude, like the guy like with Steve Young, and I think Randy Moss is on there too, like on the Monday Night Countdown. But John Gruden is a really good coach. He knows what he's doing. He won a Super Bowl, and he actually almost led the Raiders to the Super Bowl against the Patriots 20 years ago, but the Tuck rule happened. If you don't know what that is, look it up. But basically, Tom Brady got saved by the refs, and they won a game that they shouldn't have won.
Yep.
So John Gruden, my point being is that John Gruden's a very good coach. The Raiders are a very good team. And I think the Falcons should personally completely rebuild. Maybe keep like Calvin Ridley because he's still young, and Hayden Hurst because he's also young, but like trade Julio Jones, trade Matt Ryan, and potentially trade Todd Gurley. Because what are they going to do? Like, I think Matt Ryan's criminally underrated, but trade him to a team like the Patriots, like in the offseason, like if they move on from Cam Newton, or like the Saints, or like a team that needs a quarterback, because he can definitely – we've seen that Matt Ryan can lead his team to the Super Bowl, and we see that he can become an MVP player, as we saw in 2016. So Matt Ryan's a good quarterback, and I think I said this last week, but Matt Ryan's the only quarterback in the last 10 years to throw for 4,000 yards every single year, which is insane. The fact that Aaron Rodgers and Breeze and Tom Brady haven't done that, but Matt Ryan has. He's a good quarterback, and I think the Falcons should trade him to another team, and I think they should also do that with Julio.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's just me. I think it's time to move on. Who is your boom this week, Nick, and why?
So my boom is going to upset Philadelphia Eagles fans. I'm going with Nelson Aguilar. That guy has been awesome all season. He's having a breakout year. He's showing that he's the number one receiver for Derek Carr. I'm sorry. That's his brother, David Carr. Derek Carr is showing my age a little bit there. So I think that Aguilar is his number one, even though that they drafted Henry Ruggs and Brian Adams, I believe it is, in the third round. Edwards, I'm sorry. So I think that he's going to have a great game, and I bet Philadelphia is kicking themselves right now for letting that guy go. And it's sad to see for them, but it's great to see for the Raiders. So who do you have for boom of the?
And going off of Aguilar, he's showing why he's a first round pick, and he's kind of like Corey Davis, where he just needs to be in the right system. And with Corey Davis's case, you need another good receiver. But Aguilar just needs to be in that good system because, like I said, he was taken in the first round, and he is a decent receiver. But like his whole issue was literally his hands. Like he just didn't have good hands in Philadelphia. So he's been working on that. Maybe Gruden's been saying, if you drop it, 20 push-ups, man. And he's been just or something because it's been night and day with Nelson Aguilar. Very underrated. And if he's on your waiver wire, I know in our league, Nick, he is. Might as well give him a try this week against a weak Falcons secondary. What's the worst? He is there, besides Darren Waller, who is a tight end. He is definitely their number one receiver. So with that being said, my boom, who was your bust last week, is Josh Jacobs, who is a great running back, very underrated, and he's just going to plow right through the Falcons defense. He's like Derrick Henry Jr. He's a bigger dude, but not as dominating as Derrick Henry, but still very good. And the Raiders have one of the best, in my opinion, the best offensive line in football. And growing up, I never realized how important an offensive line in football was, but like literally an offensive line, a good offensive line can win you football games. Like keep it real. It matters a lot. If you're a newer fan of football or you don't really understand, having a good offensive line is key. The Giants, coming from me and Nick, who are Giants fans, we had an awful offensive line, and now it's okay now, but like we were supposed to projected to win the Super Bowl a couple years ago with OBJ, and we didn't because we had a poor offensive line. So it doesn't matter how good your talent is if your offensive line's awful. And the Raiders is the opposite. Super good. So with that being said, who is your bust, Nick? And let's just give a little hint. We both picked Falcons players.
So first to add on what you were saying about the offensive line, I played offensive line in high school. It is a very important position. It's a tough position. But growing up, there was something that our coaches always told us. The highest paid player on a team is a quarterback. The second highest paid player on the team is the left tackle. That's because his job is to protect the quarterback. So it's an incredibly important position. And the whole offensive line is incredibly important, especially now with quarterbacks. Maybe they're left-handed quarterbacks. The right tackle is really important, just as important. It is a very important position. But for bust for me, go ahead.
Oh wait, Nick, can I say something real quick? If you look up who just got paid a lot, David Bakhtiari, I think I said his name right. The left tackle for the Packers. I'm pretty sure he just signed. I know for a fact he signed a contract extension, but it may or may not be the biggest for a tackle. Let me look it up real quick because I know it's funny you say like, how big is their second highest paid. Here we go. David Bakhtiari, 4-year, $103.5 million contract. That's a huge contract for a guy. Highest paid. Does it say anything about that? I don't know if it says if it's the highest for a tackle, but obviously it's still very high. I mean, come on. Like, not saying that's a bad thing. Like, he's a really good left tackle, arguably the best, but going off of what Nick said, that like they're the second highest paid position in football.
Yep,
is a tackle. So, but anyway, what were you saying? Who is your bust?
Yep. So my bust this week, I'm going with Matt Ryan. I know early in the week we weren't sure if Julio Jones was going to play. He's listed as questionable still, and it simply comes down to when Julio is out there, Matt Ryan can be very good. When Julio is not out there, he's not good. Even with Calvin Ridley, it's weird. Even I think if Julio does play this game, which I think it's trending towards he is, I still could see Matt Ryan struggling in this game against a Raiders team that looks very good. Their defense has been solid, and it sucks. But like you mentioned earlier, I think they're in full-on rebuild mode, and I think we're going to see the worst from Matt Ryan, unfortunately, who I'm a big fan of. Who do you have for bust?
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with everything you said there. My bust is another Falcons player, like we said earlier, is Hayden Hurst, the tight end. He did not catch a single pass last week, which is goose egg, man, 0. Dropped the donut. It's odd because he's been having a pretty good year, but I don't know why Matt Ryan didn't. I think he only had 2 targets the whole game, which is also even odder, like 1 per half. Like why?
Yep.
But I picked Hayden Hurst because, like I said, he had a bad game last week, and I just think it'll continue. Like Nick said, when Julio Jones doesn't play, Matt Ryan's a different quarterback. And like Nick also said, that he's trending that he will play, but I just don't think that they'll have a good game, meaning the Falcons and Hayden Hurst in particular. So who's your pick to win this week and why, Nick?
Yeah, so I don't think it's any surprise here. I'm going with the Raiders. I like what they're going to continue their success. I'm going to pick them in most matchups the rest of the season after seeing what they did last week. I'm excited for them moving forward, and Las Vegas should be excited because they have a real team here. So the Raiders, 31-17 is my score, and let's go Raiders. Who do you have?
I also got Vegas. I got them winning 34-23. And I agree with everything you said. Vegas should be happy. They got 2 good sports teams. They got the hockey team that made the Stanley Cup in the first season of ever existed, which is crazy. Yep. And now the first season in Vegas, the Raiders are doing really well. And if the Chiefs weren't so good, they could arguably be a division leader. So The Raiders are on the right track. Shout out to Carr, Jacobs, Gruden, Waller, all of them guys over in Vegas. And thank you for proving everyone wrong, because they definitely were a sleeper team. And I don't think anyone expected the Raiders to be this good this year, let's be honest.
Yep.
So, Nick, let's talk about the next one, the Saints and the Broncos. The Saints were 8-2, the Broncos 4-6. And let me just say, I texted Nick right after this happened. We were both stunned that Taysom Hill got to start over Jameis Winston. We were confused as all.
Yep.
But it proved out to win. And we even were talking about, Jameis Winston will still win against the Falcons. Jameis Winston may throw 3 touchdowns, but he'll also throw 3 interceptions and blah, blah, blah. But he didn't even start.
Yep.
But Taysom Hill really changed the Saints playbook. Almost looked like the Ravens running the read option, the QB draw.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on this game with Taysom Hill and the Broncos, who pulled off a pretty big upset against the Dolphins last week, who were on a streak? What's your thoughts on this one?
It's funny. I heard Sean Payton say earlier in the week that actually I think it was in the offseason he said this, but it came to fruition. He said that if it comes down to a game time decision or mid game and Drew Brees can't go, he would put Jameis Winston in and Jameis would play. If he had a week to prepare an offensive scheme and prepare for their opponent, he was going to put Taysom Hill out there. That's exactly what he did last week. And while Taysom Hill didn't throw any touchdowns, he found Michael Thomas many times.
Wow.
He found him on the slant. I know he doesn't like being slant boy, but that's what he is. But he ran the ball too. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. And for anyone that has ESPN Fantasy Football app that was able to put him in your tight end lineup last week, make sure you don't put him in there again this week because they changed that. You got to get him out of there. So, yeah, I think this
also a big middle finger to anyone that did that. Sorry to interrupt, Nick. A big middle finger to anyone that did that cheesed the system and put Taysom Hill at tight end. Basically started to quarterback at you, Nick.
Yeah, I wonder who did that. So, yeah, but I think you have to ask, is Taysom Hill the future of this team when Breeze wants to hang up the cleats? I think he could be. I don't think he's really a typical quarterback, though. He I don't know. He's a Swiss Army knife player. I don't think he's I don't know. We'll see what happens. But now let's talk about, the rest of the game, this game in particular. Can the Broncos start a winning streak here? They won last week. That was an upset. It was good to see, Drew Lock played pretty well. I can't remember the stat line, but they won. That's what matters. So we'll see what happens. Oh, go ahead.
It was mainly Melvin Gordon who had the good game. He rushed for 2 touchdowns against the Dolphins, and the Broncos defense came through. Like we said earlier with their pass rush, they sacked Tua 6 times. I don't know if I said 6 or 8, but I'm reading my notes. They sacked him 6 times, which they're missing their 2 best defensive linemen / pass rushers with Jarrell Casey and Von Miller, and that's huge losses on defense. Miller's very good, and Casey's also very good. And they still got him to him 6 times. So it just shows you that the Broncos are, I don't want to say they're better than their record shows, but they're not a bad team by any means. They're still a very solid team. And Justin Simmons, who is hitting free agency this season, signed a franchise tag, I don't know how much the Broncos have in cap space, but if your team needs a free safety, they should definitely go after Justin Simmons, because he is, in my opinion, the most underrated safety in the league. No one talks about him, man, but he had that game-stealing interception on Fitz in the end, and he's very good, Justin Simmons. Very good.
Yep. All right, so for this game, my boom, I'm going with Michael Thomas. The slant king is back. He's showing it, He's playing really well, and I think it's going to continue here. It's fun to see. Who do you have for boom?
I have Michael Thomas as well. He is definitely back from injury. He's playing well, even with Drew Brees out, and I think he'll put up great numbers on Denver and Mile. Yeah, let's get to our bus. Oh, sorry, Nick, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I completely agree. For my bust on this game, I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon. He played great last week, but I don't think that's going to continue. I think they're going to have to abandon the run here, and I think they're going to have to score a lot. And I think that they won't be able to put up numbers at the same level. Who do you have for bust?
I have Taysom Hill. And don't get me wrong, I like Taysom Hill. I think he had a great game last week, which I did not expect. But I still think that he won't throw picks, but he'll get sacked a lot. I mean, if the Broncos defense can sack 2 or 6 times, I expect it's somewhat same thing to Taysom Hill, at least a couple times at the very least. And like I mentioned earlier, Justin Simmons is in the secondary. He was a great safety. You got to watch where you throw. Or Sanders or Jared Cook run a deep route, Justin Simmons will be there, man. So once again, it's not that I think Taysom Hill is a good quarterback or a solid one. I mean, we've only seen him play once. Played well last week, and I think he'll slowly, regress a little bit. He'll do solid at best. I wouldn't start him if you were looking for a quarterback, though. I would not start Taysom Hill because you don't know what he's doing. Yep.
So who do you have?
Who's your pick, Nick, to win this game and why?
I'm going Saints 24-10 here. Even with Taysom Hill, I think they're a better team. They'll find Michael Thomas. He'll do what he needs to do, and I think they're going to win. Alvin Kamara, we didn't even mention him. He's awesome. And he
did not.
Who do you have for this game?
I just want to say that was funny that we both said who do you have for our pick. That's why I laughed, because we both said who do you got for your pick this week. So I thought that was funny. That we both said that at the same time. But my pick is also the Saints. I think they're going to win 21-10, and I think that if Taysom Hill's struggling passing the game, he'll just hand it off to Kamara, like we said. We even mentioned him, and Latavius Murray too. So very diverse offensive package that the Saints have, especially with Taysom Hill running the offense now. And hopefully Drew Brees comes back soon, because like you said, when is he going to hang out the cleats? Is it going to be after this year or not? And the game's in the deck, and miss Drew Brees for sure.
All right, let's move on to the next game here. We've got the 49ers and the Rams. Rams are 7-3, 49ers are 4-6. Will, what do you have on this game? What do you think is going to happen here?
Let's just say that the 49ers are still a good team. I'm going to say that now. I might get a little double takes, But look at all the injuries. I mean, not just Garoppolo, but Nick Bosa and Richard Sherman and George Kittle and Debo Samuel, Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert. I mean, the 49ers have been dealing with injuries, man.
Yeah.
But their defense is still good, which I'm surprised by because Fred Warner is very good. Eric Armstead is very good. Jimmy Ward in the secondary is also very good. So the 49ers and the Rams defense, me and Nick talked about that last week with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. And we were right with they stifled Brady, man.
Yep.
And he threw 2 picks to the same dude. I forgot his name. It was weird because he was the 199th pick, which also Brady was. So that was weird to see that happen. And like I said, like if they can stifle Tom Brady, I expect them to stifle Nick Mullins. And the NFC West has proven to be the best division in football because the worst team would be leading the NFC East right now. And that's the 49ers. But the good thing about 49ers fans is it's trending upward that Raheem Mostert and Debo Samuel will be returning this game, which is just a plus for 49ers fans everywhere. Both good players. Raheem Mostert, obviously, with that coming into his own shell after that breakout NFC title game last year against Green Bay. And Debo Samuel, who is with Kyle Shanahan, been a very kind of like Taysom Hill-esque. Like he's been known to run the ball, kind of like a trick play like guy. A good running back, good wide receiver and all. But there's that. My boom for the week is Cooper Kupp, who torched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. Jared Goff played pretty well as well. I was wrong about Robert Woods having a bad game. He also had a very good game. And my main thing with Kupp is he's been playing great all season and is Jared Goff's favorite target. I mean, him and Robert Woods are leading a very underrated receiving core. And yeah, speaking of Jared Goff, Nick, who is your boom?
Yeah, so the man himself, I'm going with Jared Goff. I think he played well against Tom Brady last week in the Buccaneers. He did have, I think, one or two turnovers. I'm not sure, but either way, he played well. And if you look what he's got the rest of the season, he's got some great matchups. So I like what he's doing right now, and I think he's going to continue his recent success here. For my bust for this game, I'm going to go with the 49ers receiving core. You mentioned it earlier, the Rams were able to stifle Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. If they could do that, they're going to stifle Nick Mullins here. And the receivers, those receivers are not going to be able to get open if Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, if those guys couldn't do it, the receivers aren't going to do it in 49ers. So we'll see what happens, but that's my pick. Who do you pick for bust?
Yeah. Going to their receiving core, it's also very average at best. Debo Samuel, Kendrick Bourne, and their rookie receiver from Utah, Brandon Ayuk, is also not playing, or he's on a downward trend of playing or not. But before I forget, did you have anything to add on what I said in the beginning, like their defenses and like Mostert and Samuel coming back? Because I know you didn't comment on that. I'm just making sure.
No, yeah. I mean, I completely agreed with what you said. I think I can't see the 49ers pulling this one off. I like the Rams in this game, but yeah, I mean, who's your bust going forward?
Oh yeah, so back to that. My bust is Nick Mullins, who is a average quarterback at best. He had that good game against the Giants, but that's really it. And like we've been saying, if Tom Brady struggled against the Rams defense, so will Nick Mullins. Like, come on, like arguably the best quarterback of all time struggled with this. I think Nick Mullins will also struggle with this. So that's just my opinion, though.
Yep.
It's my pick to win is the Rams, 23-10, led by their great defense and a poor offense on the opposite end. The 49ers are really missing Kittle and Garoppolo and Bosa and Sherman. Who's your pick to win, Nick?
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams here too. 20-9 for me. I like the Rams a lot moving forward on the season. They're proving they're a good team, and it's unfortunate for the 49ers with all the injuries and everything that's happened to them. But I don't
football.
see them. Yeah, that's football. That's what's going to happen. You play the hand that you're dealt, and they got a shitty hand this year. So, all right. So let's move on to the next game. We've got the Chiefs, awesome Chiefs at 9-1, and the Buccaneers at 7-4. Two very good teams here. The Buccaneers are coming off that loss to the Rams, but they're still a good team. And earlier you had mentioned Brady doesn't play bad 2 times in a row. This is Mahomes and Brady's 4th matchup. Brady's 2-1 against Mahomes. Is this the last time we ever see those 2 guys play against each other? We'll see. These are 2 really good offenses with really good receiving cores. And anytime the Chiefs are playing, it's fun to watch. So definitely make sure you check this game out. I'm really excited. I'm sure you are. This is a great one. Anyone that's
Me
a fan
too.
of football should be. What do you think? You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to say that Mahomes and Brady, and this might be a passing the torch game. Like Brady's going to be here for one more year after this. I don't think he'll re-sign with the Buccaneers, and I don't think they'll play each other again unless they meet in the Super Bowl, which the Chiefs might. But I don't see the Buccaneers making the Super Bowl, at least not this year. Maybe next year. But this is going to be a fun game to watch, especially like I said, with these 2 playing for the last time, and Brady is 2-1, like you said, and let's see if Brady can finish with a winning record on Patty Mahomey Mania. My pick for MVP. And speaking of my boom, that's who I think we will boom out. Patrick Mahomes. He's going to continue his great season. He is my MVP frontrunner. And the Buccaneers defense is subpar at the very best. I don't think anyone on the Bucs will stop him. Keep it real. Like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins. I don't know if he's playing or not. He may or may not. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon Bell. Like I said last week, where you basically name an offensive Pro Bowl team when you name the Chiefs offense. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is really ridiculous. And speaking of that, Patrick Mahomes, he absolutely could win MVP this year. He's awesome. And it's a viable pick for Boom of the Week. He's got to have someone to throw the ball to. For that reason, I'm going with Tyreek Hill for my Boom of the Week. He's having a great year, arguably the number 1 receiver on the season. There's a few others out there that you could say the same thing about, but he's lights out. He's been consistent, and he's playing at a whole different level. A lot of it comes from the guy getting him the ball, but he has to put work in too, and he sure is. It's fun to watch, and it's exciting to see. So we're going to see what happens out there. Who do you have for a bust this week?
My bust is the whole running back core for the Buccaneers, which is Ronald Jones the second and Leonard Fournette. I think I got 2 main points to say. They're going to split the workload, which is never good in fantasy. That's why you don't want to start any Rams running backs too. They split it 3 ways. They split it twice. And I think the Buccaneers will abandon the run early because they're just going to need to rely on the pass first mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your boom? Or my fault. Your bust, Nick.
Yeah, I completely agree. But for me, my bust, I mentioned earlier, and you mentioned last week. Tom Brady doesn't have 2 bad games in a row, but not for that reason, but I think he's going to be my bust for this week. I think it looks like Father Time is catching up to him. It's sad, but I think it's time for him to consider, holy crap, I'm really there. I'm at the end now. I got another maybe year left in me, and I think that the Chiefs are going to stifle him. So we'll see what happens, but that's what I think is going to happen. And leading right into my pick, I think it's going to be the Chiefs win this game 24-13. So
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think the Chiefs will also win. I think they're going to win 31-17, a little bit more of a score differential. But I just don't think the Buccaneers. I almost said the Patriots again, dude. I said that last week. I did the same thing. I said, but I don't think the Chiefs will be able to do much. Against the Jesus Christ. I don't think the Buccaneers will be able to do much against the Chiefs. Oh my God, I'm sorry. 31-17, Chiefs win. There we go. Finally. So guys, we have 2 more games. I know this week is longer than last week. But that's what that's this is what this whole podcast is about, man. Like Nick said, I think last week, you on a long drive or you're bored, put this podcast on. long, but it's good for the football fans that just want to sit back, relax, and listen to us just, like you said last week, just shoot the shit. You know what I mean? Have fun, talk about football. So I know we're getting a little bit long. It's longer than last week's episode, but we got 2 more games to go. Then we got our games of the week and something new this week that we'll be doing at the end. So our Sunday night primetime game, we have the Bears and the Packers in a somewhat surprisingly close NFC North game. If the Bears are 5-5, the Packers are 7-3. But I mean, if the Bears win this game, they'll be 1 game behind the Packers. Personally, I don't think that will happen because their offense is like a high school team's offense. No offense to Nick Foles and Allen Robinson because he's a real baller, but I don't really see what's going to happen with the Bears, man. Like they don't have good quarterbacks. I don't remember the Bears ever having a very good quarterback. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they just have always relied on the defense. And like we said last week, defense doesn't win championships in the football anymore.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. It's sad that, they've had to go this long without a good quarterback. I'm trying to think back. It's been a long time since I've seen a good quarterback there. So I agree completely.
With that being said, Nick, who is your boom?
My boom this week, I'm going with Davante Adams. Aaron Rodgers is having a MVP type season, and that is in large part due to Davante Adams. That duo is scary good. If you have him on your fantasy team, he's a lock to have a good game pretty much every week if he's healthy. He's probably a lock to get multiple touchdowns every week. It's insane what we're seeing him do, and it's fun as hell to watch. So speaking of Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers, who do you have for boom?
My boom is AR-12, Aaron Rodgers. And let me quote Stephen A. Smith. He's a bad man. Aaron Rodgers, I love him. He's arguably the best ever. But I want to say he had an okay game last week against the Colts' tough defense. A great first half, kind of slowed down a bit in the second. But I expect a big game from the future Hall of Famer. I mean, a big game. He's going to wind back the clock and show us MVP Rodgers. And speaking of MVP Rodgers, he is, in my opinion, second in the leaders. Like, I don't want to say the leaderboard, but I guess the leaderboard for MVP in the MVP race. He's second, especially with Russell Wilson kind of getting not worse, but like playing poor over the last couple of weeks. I think Aaron Rodgers has jumped him. And if Patrick Mahomes wasn't in the league, he would definitely be the MVP leader, the front runner.
Yeah.
So there's that. Love Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is having an excellent year. I agree. I think he could very well win MVP, and that's exciting to see. He probably thinks to himself, "Oh man, they drafted Jordan Love. I need to show the world that I still got it." So that I think that has something to do with his excellent play. Moving forward for my bust of the week, I'm going with Allen Robinson. His whole career, the poor guy has had a terrible quarterback, and he's been able to put up great numbers. Now, that's not changing this week. He still has a terrible quarterback, but I can't see who the heck's going to get him the ball. Do we know for a fact Mitch Trubisky is starting? I mean, we don't know. Is it him or is it Foles? We don't know what's happening. I feel bad for this guy because he's so talented, and he deserves a good quarterback. And it's unfortunate for me to say that because I'm a big fan of his. But who do you have for bust?
I'm picking Mitch Trubisky, but if he doesn't start, if Nick Foles starts, I'm picking Nick Foles. I only say that because I think Nick Foles got hurt, but it might not be a major injury, so he could play. But if Nick Foles doesn't play, obviously Trubisky's next up in the bat, even though he's coming off of injury as well. They're both not Nick Foles. Trubisky's a poor quarterback. Nick Foles is a system QB in Philly. But they're both behind the poor offensive line. Trubisky does better because he can obviously move better than Foles because he's younger and faster. And he doesn't really do much besides having two good, solid receivers. Obviously, Allen Robinson's really good. And Jimmy Graham, can't forget about him, who's having a somewhat good year in Chicago. I did not think that would happen. Kind of having a somewhat off year in Green Bay. Guess him and Rodgers just didn't click.
Yeah.
But He just doesn't utilize his weapons right. Mitch Trubisky is not the franchise quarterback. And they took him over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, which still baffles me to this day.
Yeah, no, definitely. So who do you have for your pick of the week this week? Pick of the game this week?
My pick is the Packers. This should come to no surprise. I got them winning 24-10. I think that the Bears will their defense will keep them in the game like always, but in the end, the Packers will win somewhat easily.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the Packers are going to win this game. I don't think it's any question. It sucks to see the Bears lose, 4 in a row now, maybe 3. I'm not even sure, but they aren't the same anymore. They had a great record to start, but it's different now. They're not that team. The Packers win 28-13 for me moving forward. So let's get on to the Monday Night Football game. This should be an interesting one at least. Battle of the Birds. We've got the Seahawks at 7-3 versus the Eagles at 3-6-1. Russell Wilson, I think he's going to shred this secondary. Carson Wentz, he needs to bounce back really quick here. Otherwise, I think his starting job is in question. You know, they drafted Jalen Hurts. A lot of people were surprised by that, but it looks like the front office knew something.
That we didn't.
Maybe they knew that Carson Wentz was the problem. All these years we've been, coming up with excuses for Carson Wentz. This guy's injured, that guy's injured. The line hasn't been playing well. The coaching has been bad. Maybe it's just Carson Wentz. And I think it's very likely that this is the last year we see Carson Wentz in an Eagles uniform. We'll see. But what about you? You got anything to add to that?
No, I agree. I think looking back, they should have stick with Nick Foles. They were winning with him. You can't deny it. They won the Super Bowl and they upset the Bears in the wild card round. They won games with Nick Foles. Yep. I think he really is a system QB in Philly, and they should maybe potentially consider bringing him back. And everyone said people who said that were crazy a couple years ago, but they were right. I mean, Nick Foles is not playing good in Chicago, but like I said, he won a Super Bowl with them. He's a Super Bowl MVP. Yep. He always came in in the clutch, when he once went down, with in the year they won the Super Bowl and the year that they beat the Bears 2 years in a row. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Carson Wentz definitely is the problem, and they should definitely move on. Whether they go with Hurts or if they sign a QB in free agency, they definitely need to move on from Carson. And speaking of Carson, who's your boom, Nick, this week and why?
I think Chris Carson will play this game, and I think he will boom this game. I think he's going to show the NFL and the Seahawks and everyone just how much they missed him. DJ Dallas and who's the other running back that they had? Carlos Hyde. I think they have been serviceable, but Chris Carson, when he's out there playing healthy, he's awesome and he kills it. And if he's back and he plays, he's a lock to start, in my opinion. Who do you have for boom?
I got DK Donkey Kong, aka DK Metcalf. I say this. I'm gonna keep it short and simple. Who is gonna guard him? If there are any Eagles fans watching this, and you try to tell me Darius Slay will guard DK Metcalf, I'm gonna laugh at you. Yep. You're kidding. You're just kidding. I mean, I'm not trying to be like a rider on DK Metcalf, but if there's only been one receiver corner that's been able to guard him, and that's Jalen Ramsey, and he's the best. So if you're going to tell me that Darius Slay will clamp up DK Metcalf, like I said, I'm just going to laugh at you. No one's going to guard him on the Seahawks or on the Eagles secondary. Who? Jalen Mills? Okay. And what's he going to do? Slow him down for about a half a second? Then DK Metcalf's going to burn him?
Yep.
I mean, it's fun. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. This is going to be a DK Metcalf show because that guy is a freak. He's fun as hell to watch. He's huge, and as a Giants fan, I wish we took him in the draft because he dropped.
Yeah, and also before I forget, DK Metcalf, when they played the Seahawks last year, or the Eagles in the playoffs last year, he balled out against them last year too in the playoffs. He got 90 yards and I think he scored a touchdown too. So I expect a similar performance, man. At least a touchdown, at least 90 yards.
Yeah, I agree completely. Who do you have for a bust in this game?
I think the Eagles' defense and special teams, because there's too many weapons for them to handle. We already said Carson and Metcalf, mentioned Wilson, but we also got Tyler Lockett. And they're all really good, and they can play well. And they're a good team. Their offense is really good, and the Eagles' defense is okay, but like I don't think they'll be able to handle them all. There's like too many weapons for them to handle. I
Yep.
expect a blowout in the favor of the Seahawks. What about you, Nick? Who's your
Yeah.
bust?
Yeah. My bust. I agree completely. Carson Wentz. He's my bust. I think this is his last season in Philly. I think we're going to see, a really rough ride the next few weeks. Those Philly fans, they're crazy, and if they don't get what they want out of a player, they let them know. So I think it's going to be a rough few weeks for Eagles fans, and we're going to see moving forward if Jalen Hurts is the answer. So that leads to our picks. It's no secret, we both like the Seahawks in this game. I'm giving it to the Seahawks 27-7. What do you have?
I have also, like Nick said, I have the Seahawks winning. I got them winning 35-10.
Yeah.
So, just like last week, guys, to wrap it up, again, like I said, sorry, it's a little bit longer. We just like to talk about football, man. Me and Nick could do this all day long. But we got our games to watch, our key game of the week, basically. Nick, who was your game to watch and why?
Oh, I'm going with the Ravens Steelers. This is a fun one. We're going to find out if the Steelers are for real. They haven't really played anyone all season long. And the Ravens, they're desperate. They're backed into a corner, and they do not want to go from the best team in the league and a team a lot of people thought were going to win the Super Bowl last year to a team that doesn't even make the playoffs. So with them being desperate and the Steelers being really hot right now, I think this is going to be a really fun game. Who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I was originally going to pick the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, but I like this one more, the Colts and the Titans, because of the division implications this game has. The Titans are and the Colts are tied, and the Colts are only winning because of the tiebreaker that the Colts beat them. The Colts defense may be the best in the league. Me and Nick already expressed that enough how good that defense is. But the Titans have Derrick Henry, who is arguably the best running back in the league. So we got the best running back versus the best defense. They're going to be clashing heads, and it's going to be fun to watch. Two very underrated teams. I think the AFC South doesn't get the attention that it gets from other divisions like the NFC West and the AFC North. But this is going to be a fun game to watch.
Definitely.
So, guys, to wrap it up this week, our a new thing, me and Nick, I guess a segment, is our picks of our pick record. All of our games we picked last week, we all got the record up, and we're just gonna say like who's winning and who's not. So Nick picked 9 right, and he got 5 wrong, and I picked 8 right, and I got 6 wrong. So right now Nick is winning. Drop a comment down below to see who you think will take the lead. Will Nick hold on to the lead? I hope not. I want to come and win, man. And who do you think's going to win at the end of the season? Who's going to pick more games right correctly? I know we picked some differently. I think you picked the Colts and I picked the Titans. Sometimes our picks are the same, but there are some times where obviously we don't pick the same team. So yeah, just something I thought we should add something different. Get you guys involved at listen.
Yeah,
so
no,
Nick, you got any final comments?
Yeah, so I think I'm ready for some football starting tomorrow. It'll be exciting to see a few games. Everyone out there that's listening to this, stay safe and enjoy your holiday. Maybe you have a few days off of work. Enjoy it. Hang out with your family. Tell them you love them. And just, appreciate the day. And let's go watch some fun football, guys.
Yep. All I got to say is, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. It means a lot. We'll be back next Wednesday for week 13. I hope you guys all have a safe Thanksgiving for all of our United States American listeners. If you're from like Canada or whatever, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Wait, I just realized, why would people in Canada be listening to this if we're talking about American football?
That's a good question.
Oops. But no, seriously, guys have a great Thanksgiving. It's going to be some, I guess, mediocre games to watch, let's be honest. But, I mean, it's still football, man. I'll watch whatever they give me. I'll watch the Jets and the Jaguars. Football's football. So, everyone, have a good Thanksgiving. Don't forget to watch the 2 games tomorrow, starting at noon with the Lions and the Texans. And, yeah, have a great weekend. Stay safe. And like Nick said, I hope you guys enjoy, get a couple days off of work, or if you're younger, a couple days off of school. So yeah, and the Black Friday shopping too. Get some Christmas gifts.
All right, everyone. Take care. Be safe. Love you all. Have a good one.
Yep. Again, thank you guys again so much for listening. If you guys liked it, comment down below and subscribe and comment. Thank you guys so much. Take care.